So, a pleasant day to each and everyone. We are the Group 4 and we are here to present the solid waste management of the multinational company, which is the Universal Robina Corporation. So, next slide, please. So, our group decided to implement the DMAIC method to further discuss the data that we have gathered from the Universal Robina Corporation. Next slide, please. Okay, so I am Tal and I'll be discussing the define phase of our discussion. So for the content overview under define, this data is heavily dependent on the sustainability report from year 2019 to 2023 that is publicly available in the Universal Robina Corporation website. So for 1.1, we will discuss the compliance with environmental laws enacted for environmental protection, followed by the data available for solid and hazardous waste. Third on the list is problem recognized by the URC. And then fourth is the wealth uses of universal Robina. And of course, the statement of the problem. Next slide, please. So again, just a brief background regarding URC. We all already know this. Again, URC is just a major multinational company based in the Philippines, known for its diverse portfolio in food and beverage industry. Also known as the prominent example of Philippine company that has achieved global recognition through diversified product offerings, strategic market expansion, and a commitment to sustainability and corporate responsibility. Next slide, please. So in the context of their solid waste management, it has proven that Universal Robina Corporation has consistently demonstrated its commitment to sustainable practices through its comprehensive solid waste management initiatives. So the efforts are strictly aligned with the company's sustainability goals and the broader aim of reducing its ecological footprint while complying with the environmental regulations. So, in the speaking of compliance with environmental laws enacted for environmental protection, the operations of the said company are subject to various laws and regulations enacted for the protection of the environment, namely the following. So we have the Philippine Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, where in this chapter we will focus on toxic substances and hazardous and nuclear waste control, pollution control law, the environmental impact statement system, Laguna Lake Development Authority, LLDA, and Renewable Energy Act, electric power industry reform, and environmental compliance certificates requirements in accordance with the DENR administrative order. The company believes that it has complied with all applicable environmental laws and regulations, and if we can remember, an example of which is the installation of wastewater treatment system in its various facilities that we have discussed during the workshop one. So for this one, we are now with data availability for solid and hazardous waste. So as we notice, the sustainable reports from 2019 to 2023, they included the following numerical data, and they are categorized as total solid waste generated, total weight of hazardous waste generated and transported, recycled section, incinerated, residual, landfill, composted, biodegradable, and renewables. The numerical data and other information will be further discussed in the measure phase. Next slide, please. So for the problem recognized by the Universal Robina Corporation, the company recognizes that improperly handled waste can result in adverse environmental impact and regulatory sanctions. Next slide, please. Okay, so proceeding with the impacts and risks where they occur, URC involved with stakeholders affected. So the URC focus on improving their waste haulers wherein they are adequately screened to ensure that they are DNR accredited before they engage their services. Second on the list is they have improved the designated staff, pollution control officers, and key employees are well trained and tasked to manage waste in all aspects, including facilities, equipment, and employee engagement. And then for the last one, on their impacts and risk, they have been able to improve and utilize waste profiling using waste analysis and characterization study, also known as your WACS, in order to push the zero waste to landfill in the near future, might as well in order to extract more value from waste for circular economy purposes. Next slide, please. And then on the section of opportunities and management approach, the company seeks out collaborative projects on waste management that include community engagement and linking with local recyclers in order to seize opportunities and scaling up partnerships with the stakeholders. And then there are some businesses units that have pilot projects that target at each component of the solid waste as they produce to reduce, recover, or upcycle waste as much as possible. So speaking of the existing programs, here are the strategic solid waste management that URC has been continuously doing for their sustainability. So presented here are the wealth of uses of Universal Robina, or simply known as their solid waste management projects throughout the year, specifically 2019 to 2023. So in year 2019-2022, they revolve around for solid waste management. First on the list is from garbage pile to compost gold. Practically, it talks about transforming waste to organic fertilizer. Example of this is the product scraps from the BCFG Vietnam, such as used tea leaves, are used for composting and donated to partner farms. In our country, the Philippine context, domestic waste such as mud press from URC sugar and renewables is withdrawn by planters and applied to fields as organic fertilizer. Second on the list is plastic scrap repackaged as new. Talks about upcycling regines into PET bottles. So in this section, URC scraps PET bottles or PET material, including bottles rejects, are regrounded, and then they are regrounded into PET flakes and mixed with the virgin PET resin to create new bottles. So there is this data saying 2 to 10% reprocess of the PET resin is allowed into the mix to maintain the integrity of the bottle. Third on the list is the waste converted into renewable energy, uh, focusing on bagasse and biomass in order to generate power. So in the section of URCAIG, they collect chicken manure from its layer farm, which is then used to fuel its biogas digester plant in Nai, Cavite to produce 160 kilowatts of electricity. So that 160 kilowatts of electricity is more than enough to accommodate the power demand of 5 fully automated, climate-controlled and tunnel-ventilated chicken houses. So apart from the minimization of the waste, the facility is also able to save on power cost up to 6 million annually. In addition, URCAAG uses hog manure to fuel up its 400 kilowatts biogas digester plant in San Miguel, Bulacan. And then the electricity produced by the facility saves the hog farm around 14.4 million annually. On the other hand, URC sure bagasse, or the dry pulpy residue left over from the extraction of juice from the sugarcane, is being used as fuel in order to generate electricity as well. Currently, the biomass-fired powered cogeneration plant in Cabanclacan, City Negros Occidental is capable of generating 46 megawatts of electricity. That is also enough to power the sugar mill operations of URC Sure Senecdo, and also supply 20 MW to the grind. So meanwhile, in the section of distillery, the spent wash is recycled during the fermentation process that produces fuel-grade ethanol and incinerated it via boiler to generate steam and power. Uh, Next on the list is the multi-use plastic making the bulk film, upcycling scrap plastic. So this scrap undergoes the recycling processes that transform them into regranulated pellet or resins or regrinds, wherein the URC bulk packaging is constantly implementing improvements in the production processes in order to measure and minimize the scrap generation. So it is located in the Batangas plant, and it is only the Bob plant in the Philippines that has an integrated management system with ISO certification. To be specific, ISO 9008 Quality Management System and ISO 14000 of 2004 Environmental Management System. It is also said that it is a part of their management strategy to find ways in order to utilize the net generated regrinds inventory instead of selling it at losing price. So next one, in the year 2023, they have three. One goal for plastic waste management partnership with ChE and plastic neutrality by 2030. So for one goal, for plastic, uh, technically, it is just a community engagement in Obando, Bulacan, wherein they were able to give incentive programs for waste diversions. This partnerships includes incentives workers at Obando's material recovery facility, rewarding them based on the volume of waste diverted. In this way, the approach encourages active community participation in waste management and efforts. So through this collaborative efforts of URC, they aim to advance sustainability goals, reduce reliance on conventional fuels, and make a positive environmental impact by promoting effective waste management and practices. URC aims to establish a sustainable value chain and significantly reduce its environmental impact. Next slide, please. So for the statement of the problem, so from 2019 to 2023, URC has made significant strides in solid waste management, including the initiatives that we have mentioned earlier, in order to achieve plastic neutrality and adopt renewable energy solutions. However, the comparative analysis of their sustainability report reveals varying degrees of progress, with earlier years focusing primarily on waste diversion and recycling, while the recent efforts emphasize greener technologies such as the biomass energy and expanded community partnerships. Despite this advancement, the persistent challenge lies in scaling these solutions across all operations in order to fully meet environmental goals and regulatory standards. So now I'll be giving the floor to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, so now I will be presenting the different charts and different measures on how URC handles their solid waste and hazardous waste. Next. So first, let's discuss URC's compliance with DNR. So based on their previous sustainability reports, which is from 2021 to 2023, URC ensures that it fully complies with RA 9003, or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, and DNR Administrative Order 2013-22, which is the revised procedures and standards for the management of hazardous waste. Next. So presented in this table here is the annual solid waste generated by URC from 2021 to 2023. So the solid waste is separated into four categories. We have the recyclable, which composes the biodegradable and non-biodegradables, incinerated, residual or landfill, and finally the renewable solid waste. Next. So the data shown, or we have here the definition of terms of what each category means. So we have the data which covers the information of total URC, which includes BCF, flour, SURE, which is the sugars, AIG, which is the agro-industrial products. The biodegradable wastes are defined as waste from plant or animal sources. Non-biodegradable waste are sold as scrap or returned to the recycling system. Our residual or landfill wastes are non-potential and non-recoverable wastes. Renewables are waste materials used as alternative fuels to generate the company's own energy. Next. So presented here is the percentage of each category to the or their contribution to the total solid waste. So for renewable, renewable comprises 69% of the total solid waste, recyclables 30%, residuals or landfill 1%, and incinerated 0%. Next. Another chart here presents the percent reduction, no, from 2021 to 2023. So from 3,133,574, na-reduce yung solid waste nila to 2,454,593, which is a 21.67% reduction of generated solid waste. So masasabi natin na the initiatives discussed by Tal earlier, the different initiatives conducted by URC, we could definitely say that it was effective because as shown in the data here, na-reduce nila yung solid waste generation nila. Next. So aside from the solid waste, they also have data for hazardous waste. Total weight of hazardous waste generated covers information of total URC, and total weight of hazardous waste transported covers information of BCFPH, BCFint, flour, sure, and AIG. So the difference in the quantity of hazardous waste generated and transported was stored duly through the DNR prescribed hazardous waste storage on site. Next. So we also have here a chart which discusses the total weight in tons of hazardous waste generated versus hazardous waste transported. So similar to the data or the chart from solid waste, yung hazardous waste nagkaroon din ng significant reduction since 2021. So there's 65.78% of transported hazardous waste was reduced since 2021, and 53.74% of generated hazardous waste was reduced since 2021. So masasabi talaga natin effective yung naging measures ng URC. Next po.
As we analyze the data in programs done by URC to achieve their goal of plastic neutrality, these are some of the problems they're facing when tackling solid waste management. First is the challenges with regards to waste profiling, as it can be time-consuming and resource-intensive to do and monitor for an accurate data. We need the accurate data, as inaccuracy in these data can affect the efficiency of the solid waste management programs they're doing. And since the URC is also partnering and coordinating with external communities for their solid waste management, especially recently, coordinating and communicating with them can cause difficulties and inefficiencies when it comes to these programs. Lastly, hazardous waste is a much more difficult to manage, as it requires DNR accredited transport and disposal systems, or TDS. Thus transporting and handling these hazardous waste can cause a lot of issues.
So to address the URC's waste issues and challenges, here are the other possible solutions that can improve their solid waste management aligned with their goals. Next. So we have here the pyrolysis, compostable packaging, anaerobic digestion for organic waste, reverse vending machine, expanded use of recycled materials, and AI waste sorting and recycling. Next, please. So for the use of pyrolysis for non-recyclable plastics, pyrolysis is a thermal decomposition process that occurs in the absence of oxygen at high temperatures to heat organic materials. So pyrolysis can substantially reduce the volume of solid waste, and according to Akenberg et al. 2010, this process in low-density polyethylene or LDPE can achieve an 80% waste reduction and converting 5 kilograms of waste into 1.1 kilograms of residual solids. This can be significant for URC, especially for a large corporation that uses plastic for most of its packaging. It can also produce bio-oil, gases, and char that can be used as a fuel or raw materials for various applications. Moreover, it produces minimal air pollutants and lower environmental impact compared to incineration method. Next. For the compostable packaging, So it is the use of packaging made from plant-based materials that can break down in industrial composting facilities. It is a sustainable packaging option that can easily decompose in 180 days normally or 3 days in composting facilities, which drastically reduces plastic pollution that ends up in landfills and waterways. This aligns with URC's goal of minimizing its environmental impact by diverting its waste from traditional disposal methods. Next, please. For the implementation of anaerobic digestion for organic waste, so it is the use of anaerobic microorganisms to break down organic waste into biogas and digestate, which can be used as energy and fertilizer. It can effectively divert organic waste from landfills, which is significant in reducing landfills waste and greenhouse gases emission associated with waste decomposition. By processing organic waste, URC can minimize its environmental impact and comply with the more environmental waste regulation. Next. So for the reverse vending machines, URC seeks collaborative projects with their waste management that includes community engagement. Therefore, a system that will allow their consumer to return used beverages containers in exchange for incentives will be a great project. RVM can produce and promote higher recycling rates, improve circular economy, and reduction of waste being sent to landfills, it will encourage consumers to participate in recycling programs because of the reward system. Next. And expanded use of recycled content in products. Reducing virgin plastic use by incorporating recycled materials in packaging, such as recycled polyethylene terephthalate bottles, and by incorporating recycled content, URC can conserve natural resources due to a decrease in reliance on virgin materials, improve its product life cycle, and divert materials from landfills that otherwise would be discarded. This contributes to the waste reduction and circular economy of the corporation, as well as the reduction of its environmental impact.
Finally, we have, as part of the sustainable solutions, AI sorting and recycling. It uses AI and robotic technologies for waste management and sorting, and improves efficiency, accuracy, and effectiveness of waste processing. So now, it uses the AI's ability to analyze data, recognize patterns, to create and decision making for an uh, re- efficient and sustainable management system. Next slide, please.
Finally, we move on to the last part of the denied process, which is control. We will propose an action plan for URC to tackle their waste management problem. First step is to assess the solid waste, the current solid waste management system. Second is design an improved system. Third is the implementation and optimization of the processes. And finally, we move on to continuous improvement. For assessment of solid waste management, uh, it is expected that we establish a clear understanding of the current solid waste generation system. Some key actions to be able to complete this stage is to assess solid waste generation, identify gaps in compliance with waste disposal regulations, and identify inefficiencies and opportunities for optimizing waste reduction and energy use in waste management. For the second step, the improvement of system design, some outcomes are to enhance the treatment systems by integrating new technology to the identified challenges here in step one. Some key actions are to design waste recycling and recovery systems, develop energy efficient technologies, redesign waste compaction and management systems to improve the efficiency and reduce landfill reliance. The third step is to implement the system designs and optimize the processes related to improving the system. Some unexpected outcome is to implement the new design, and upgrade and optimize processes to ensure that the system runs efficiently. Some key actions are to, as mentioned in the previous part, is to utilize sustainable packaging, expand the methods of recycling and the use of recycled materials, and use state-of-the-art technologies such as AI and reverse vending machines. For the final step, continuous improvement, um, Its goal is to promote long-term sustainability, maintain regulatory compliance, and apply Kaizen in solid waste management practices. Some key actions are to establish a continuous monitoring program. This way, they will be able to track everything concerned with the solid waste generation, treatment, and disposal, and they will be able to they will be able to do actions to mediate those problems. Second is to conduct audits to ensure compliance with waste management and environmental regulations, and finally, continuously engage with stakeholders to strengthen corporate social responsibility and maintain transparency. Here are our references. Thank you for listening.